I want to talk a little bit about the Black Mesa Blue Shift game and have a look at some references and see where Blender and Substance Painter could potentially be used to create either some models, some textures, or even a small environment. All right, so these are all just in game shots. So here is from, I believe this is near the beginning of the game where the train is coming into the complex, and you can see that we've got the typical sort of yellow. Can't see them very well. The yellow guardrails. We've got the sort of sci-fi walkway here. Of course, we've got the hazard symbols here, hazard stripes, some kind of a sci-fi walkway or platformish type thing down there. Have a look at the concrete walls here. All right, they look very typical, sort of just with the little indent right here. Okay, we're going to see stuff like that reused throughout the game. And we got the yellow pipe. All right, so how would you curve a pipe? How would you create that pipe? And then at the very end, you've got that round piece here with the bolts. So there's a lot going on in this scene, and in particular, the train itself, if you call it that, or trolley, or whatever it is rather complicated. But a lot of pretty basic modeling and basic texturing that just has that sort of standard kind of computer game look that I just love. But now I just want to have a look at this image here. We can see we've got the checkered floor. I mean, you can even do that, of course, in Blender, or we could certainly do it in Substance Painter with a little bit of dirt. It looks a little bit like some of these patterns are repeated here. And again, you've got the concrete kind of blocks here on these pillars. Now notice that these ones have a black stripe at the bottom, so we're going to see that again. And then there's some more of those concrete pieces back there. And also up on the ceiling, you've got those ceiling tiles that have the little perforations or the little holes or dots in them. We're going to have a closer look at that. Again, we've got the yellow pipe coming through. All right, now like I say, I saved these images from in game because I was interested and I thought that this would be a nice little scene to create. Not this stuff. There's a lot going on here, but just looking at these bricks. Now we'll see these bricks again. All right, and obviously for similar kind of things like hallways and entranceways, they're going to use some of the same materials. But we've got these bricks with the white mortar. All right, so we could create that in Blender. We certainly could do that in Substance Painter. If you look at the keypad here, it really doesn't have much depth to it. I think that these are basically graphics that are stuck on. Same with this one. Very straightforward text and very straightforward door with these little slits in there. All right, so really sort of doable textures. Up here we've got this vent, and notice this rust drip here. Now I don't know if I have another image, but I saw the exact same vent in multiple places, and if we see it again, we'll point that out. There's the concrete pieces here, concrete panels with the black lines. So imagine you made one of those and you put a black strip. You can just tile them along. All right, they're over here on this side, but you've got the stripe. All right, again, we have that ceiling. I'm just going to call them the ceiling tiles, but more of the concrete here. All right, and I want to have a look at this later. This is not a 3D light. This is just a decal or a graphic that can be put in, and every time I've seen this, it's always paired with that air. I don't know if you call that a circulator, an air vent of some sort. All right, so if we see that again, we're going to note that it's always paired. All right, let's go on. Here we go. Here's the light. You can't see the other piece, but this one has that ceiling. I think one of the first videos that I'm going to do in this series, I don't know if I should call it a series because I will be creating a little scene, but I'm also going to do some Substance Painter tips for how to create graphics uh, that could be reused. And I think I'm going to do that before I do a scene. And so the first one I'm going to do is I'm going to do the ceiling tiles. So I'm going to create one plane, and I'm going to create this in Substance Painter, and then we're going to be able to just click them together to create the ceiling. But I'm also interested in this drain. So when I do that, we'll zoom in on the picture. All right. So again, you don't really see any depth. It's just sort of plastered on there. Once again, we have those concrete pieces there. All right. I just like this because I really liked the orange tiles or yellowish tiles and these orange tiles. I was looking for things that looked like they could be done as if most of the game was created in Substance Painter. So you could certainly do these tiles with sort of the dark gray kind of grout, and these tiles with a little bit less roughness, a little bit shinier, almost like a plaster or concrete wall with some splotches of color. These sort of pot lights, whatever, don't have any actual depth to them as if they're modeled. It's just like a circle and an emission coming off of it. This one looks like it has depth, but I think it's just got a bit of a shadow around it, or it's even dropped a little bit below the ceiling. Now I'm interested in this one. I think we're going to see this in another image, but also let's go back to here. Notice we've got these pillars here. We've got that concrete kind of thing here, and then you've got the circular metal-like thing at the bottom with the bolts. And note these mats because they show up in a lot of different places as well. Okay, and same with this piece here. There's another one right there. You can see no real depth, just sort of plastered on there. Yeah. All right, this one is just another one showing the floor vent drain type thing, and nice shot of the orange tiles here. All right, we can see that ceiling again here, and notice there's the fluorescent lights with that air. I'm going to call it a circulator. Here's another one of those mats, and here's the concrete this time with sort of rectangles like that. Oh, the other thing I'm interested in is this. Notice how where there are doorways or one room going into another, it's not just the door frame as we would often do, but there's usually a piece of design here as well, and that could be certainly done in Substance Painter. I mean, I know you can use other software for it, but that's what I would do. This is through one of the camera view, but I wanted to point out again the concrete blocks, we'll call them that. The concrete now here on a rectangular post or pillar instead of round with the black at the bottom, and then again along the side of the wall here. What almost looks like the ceiling tiles, which are actually up here, just a slightly different pattern there. And you could investigate all of these images in depth to find other commonalities. The sci-fi kind of banister or a handrail there. All right, now over here, I know you can't see it very well, but this is the typical sort of metal grate texture. I've made that before in Substance Painter, and where you have the diagonal spiky type things. I'll show you that again sometime if we care about it. But I just wanted to illustrate that it's used there, and a piece of metal skirting down here or whatever. Again, you've got concrete blocks with the black pieces there. And pretty straightforward. You've got an emission there. Maybe you've got a point light here, or maybe a spotlight coming down. Yeah, so very straightforward graphics, but really, making the game, and the game runs very smoothly and quickly. So here we are inside, and now we've got the bricks again. All right, so we've seen those bricks before. We've got these rectangular blocks with some more dirt and grime and stuff, the hazard lines, and that's about it. All right, I saved this one because I wanted to have a look at how they do their boxes, and that's just something for me to see. But again, we've got the bricks in here, and pretty, kind of straightforward modeling. A lot of the pieces aren't too difficult to do. I mean, there are, the organics are, and some and the vehicles and stuff, but a lot of this stuff is straightforward, but just makes for a fantastic game. And there's the mat. And I like this image because there are a couple things on here. First of all, we've got the fence material. Now, I've used that in one of my scenes. I think it was the interrogation scene. But I would like to do, when you do fencing, if you know the method to use or a method to use, you can do many different things, from outdoor fences to this kind of stuff. So I want to have a look at that. But I also saved this in order to have a close look at how they created their door and the connections. So it's not just a rectangle with fence and then the rest of the fence. It gives it some complexity here. Also, this thing here, in the old days, probably not that long ago, I would have punched holes through all my geometry, and it would have been just a huge mess. But of course, now we can punch holes, and there's some transparency to these so that you can see through them. So I'm interested in doing this piece, probably creating this whole thing. Looks like maybe a piece of wood or metal. All right, so we have a few levels. And then we've got these pieces, we would model them, and then maybe with symmetry, you would do just a row of holes. And that would be mirrored to the other one. Then we just copy all around. We've got a piece here, we've got a piece there, maybe a piece going down there. So it's just, props that you would want to have in your scene. And of course, there's that mat, but we're looking out into that area we were just looking at. Got that thing there. This is actually the scene that I'm thinking of doing to start with, because I want to keep it simple and just get modeling and doing some textures and seeing if we can get it to look something like this. So we would have the bricks, we would have some rusty pipes here with the round things on the bottom and the bolts, and a couple of things like this. We would have sort of a rectangular light where we pull this piece up a little bit and an emission underneath there. There are some pipes on the ceiling. I can't really see it very well, and I don't want to do too much stuff that I can't see. But anyways, we have a door frame over here, and then we have a door, and on that door we've got the hazard stripes. We've got a couple of hinges there. And then over on this side, we've got this sort of warning light, so we could certainly do that with the cage around it and that red glow. We've got a pipe / wire coming out, looks like it's going into this box. Look at, very simple. Okay, we just have a slightly beveled, rounded corner rectangle with another one sticking up with a label of some sort. And look at this piece just coming around like this with some kind of lever. We might do a little bit more work on some things, whatever, if I can't see it very well, or if it looks a little too simplistic for a static render, because remember, this is a game and you're going through it and you're seeing lots of different things. So if some of the objects are a little boxy, you got plenty of other things to look at. All right, and we've got some pipes or wires coming out, and we've got this yellowish kind of grungy floor. So I'm choosing this maybe because it's not too hard to do. Now, I say that before having done it, but I believe that we can do the bricks and all of this and get it to look cool. And the lighting and everything won't be exactly the same because this is an in-game shot with, from the game engine, and we're going to be doing it in Blender, whether it's Eevee or Cycles. Let's look at just a couple of more. Of course, you got the standard pipes here again with the round base and the bolts, and you got the wheels, whatever. We've got some other vents up here. It's pretty convincing, but I'm sure that's just a black color. We're going to have more of the same kind of, there we got the ceiling tiles up here, And we got fluorescent light. We got that air diffuser. I think that's the name for it. All right. Yeah, the hazard stuff going through the door. All right. That's what I've got for you there. So, like I say, we're going to be starting up doing some Substance Painter tips. You know, there'll be a little bit of modeling in Blender, I assume, or it might just be a plane. And we're going to be doing some texturing and seeing how you could make some of these textures. And I might, click them together a little bit in Blender to show how they could be used. And then we'll get into doing an actual scene. And I'm not committed to that hallway scene, but I might start with that and then move on to something else. All right, so there's more coming in this series of Black Mesa Blue Shift modeling, texturing, etc. Okay, so tune in again soon and we'll get started on the first part. Thanks very much.